Obviously,
Seattle came prepared. Like, they were there to win it. They really.
What do you mean? We made it silent plant.
Yeah.
So in their land debut. But sometimes you want things you just can't get.
Extremely
Seattle
close.
3-0, bro.
Sheesh, wow.
Extremely.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Best of 3 Call of Duty Esports Podcast. I'm your host, Josh. SalvationsElite. To my right is Bash_Bo3 Sam. And to our farthest right, per usual, is none other than the Rex ShadyNero. And boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, Stage 1 is upon us today. And we're doing full Stage 1, Week 1 predictions. We got all the news of the week, some interesting GAs to talk about, some updates as well. Challengers Elite started this week. So there's a lot to go through today, and looking forward to it. Before we get into that, guys, I gotta ask, boys, what's going on?
Well, Josh, I'm feeling like a cat stalking in the night. And I'm prowling around on the family farm, and I'm like, I'm getting me some munchies today. Where are those little rats at? I want them. And then I'm crawling along, and I go into the barn, and all these horses they're kind of, they're stomping around. I'm like, ooh, I'm jumping. What's going on? And all of a sudden, hear I'm perked. I'm perked up. I'm ready to go. And I'm like, crawling along. And bam! Stepped on one of the sharp straws on the ground and completely screwed up the whole attack.
Oh my word.
Fortunately, the mouse also was freaked out and like a mouse, an idiot, comes running towards me and swipe, got him.
Man, even when things are going wrong, they're going right?
Took that right to the front porch to give to my family.
Wow, man.
I'm sure they're gonna love it.
What a time to be alive. That sounds like a great time. Sam, how you doing? You're looking hot over there. Wow.
I'm doing good. I just can't seem to get warm today for some whatever reason.
Yeah.
It's just kind of
so you
weird.
decided to get real hot.
So I am wrapped up in a blanket and nothing you can do is gonna stop me. So
Wow. All right. Fair play, man.
yeah.
It's as good as it gets. But yeah, we got a lot to talk about today, man. I mean, you can listen to Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. You can watch on YouTube. Drop that comment on YouTube, that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And I see that Spotify is starting to roll out some reviews as well. So maybe check to see if they're available. I don't know. Maybe they're not yet, but we'll see. But today we have a special review, Sam. I hear through the grapevine that something interesting came through for you here.
Oh, what is it?
I mean, we have our first ever Twitch 5-star review.
Wow. I mean, this is insane.
This is crazy. This comes from a whisper. And
okay.
This dude was so ready for this. My word.
This 5-star Twitch review. I've been listening since the end of Modern Warfare season and have been a big fan since, making my work days easier.
My
By
guy.
the way, Bash being the most handsome and the best
my
hot
word.
takes, 10
What
out of
is
10
happening?
would listen again. And that comes straight from the source. Nothing was added.
Oh,
Wow.
man.
Thank you, Sopris.
Oh, I liked so much of that. Wow.
Just
Good stuff.
Yeah,
just amazing,
a
honestly.
few missing words there, but it's all good. But
Yes, thank
appreciate
you
the
for
review,
our-
brother. Sopris.
Yeah,
Appreciate
Sopris
that, man.
First
And,
ever
the
Twitch review.
Breaking ground. Yeah, I know, really,
Yeah.
with the 5-star Twitch review. Things you love to see. But we have a lot to get into today, so no quick question. Shocker, I know. So without further ado, let's get right into this news of the week, boys. Let's hit it.
The Call of Duty News of the Week.
News here. Come get your Call of Duty news.
Oh, baby.
Some league news.
Yes, sir.
There's been a schedule breakdown.
Yeah,
Every team is going to be playing everyone twice except 2 teams. So let's try and make that make sense. FaZe will play every team twice except for Florida Mutineers and Paris Legion. One more just to make it clear. OpTic Texas will play everyone twice except they'll play once Seattle Surge and Ravens, and the list goes on.
Yeah, so basically it was all randomized. So this is what we were waiting to kind of figure out and get a breakdown of, like, who's got the easier schedules here. And the one team that really stood out was Florida, because they don't play FaZe, or they only play FaZe and Ultra once. So they missed out on, two of the top 3 teams or the top 2 teams potentially, depending how you want to dice it. But so, there's some interesting ones there, but I think it's interesting now that we got the whole schedule lined up. We got the breakdown, and it's all literally every single league match lined up for the rest of the season. I don't know. How do you feel at this point now that we kind of got it all set up and like cemented with the fully seeded out schedule that was randomized?
It's nice. It's comforting. Some stability, and look for yourselves. It's somewhere on Reddit, I'm sure, but that looks pretty good for Mutineers to play possibly the top 2 teams only once.
Right, because it was that was the Reddit post I was kind of looking at. That some of the other things that some people noticed was like Rokkr's Major 3 schedule, where they have LAG, LA Thieves, Ultra, Florida, and FaZe. So they got some pretty top teams there. And then Boston's Major 4 schedule, which is OpTic, LA Thieves, Surge, LAG, and Ultra. So they have a pretty tough road too. So there are some situations there where you got some really tough ones, but usually that means if you have a tough one, that means another one's pretty easy. So of course, a lot can change. I mean, who knows how good LAG is going to be or Seattle's going to be in 3 stages from now. But, interesting to look down the road and kind of get an idea of what could be coming here. Yeah, it definitely becomes more interesting the farther we get into the stage 1 to get a better idea of how good teams are.
Yeah, it was interesting because Den's actually commented on that post, and he said, based on how the schedule is made, Boston Breach have the hardest schedule and are an outlier, whereas Ultra have the easiest schedule. Randomness was used, which does not necessarily equal fairness.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Definitely.
In more news, some more teams, NYSL particularly, coming out with some NFTs, getting themselves involved in the cryptoverse. And what their tweet says, introducing NYSL NFTs, the hottest moments from our 2021 season, gain a new way to celebrate, own a part of history, this is important, and receive real world and digital benefits. So implying there, you might be able to get a piece of gear if you get one of the NFTs or whatever, which I think is a nice way of doing
something like that. Yeah, that makes sense. So I wanted to talk about this, because there's a lot of controversy around it over the past few days, because obviously there's a lot of negative connotation to NFTs right now, especially in the gaming space. And like before we started recording, Rex and I were trying to talk about like, why do gamers like hate NFTs so much? And I mean, there is probably some sort of connection to like the bad history of like, especially Call of Duty with microtransactions and Activision being greedy. And I think that makes a lot of sense.
We're the new boomers. In our day, microtransactions were like the most evil thing to ever happen. Fortnite comes out, kind of breaks that whole barrier.
Passes.
And microtransactions used to be the devil, and now NFTs are in a way in that same realm, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I kind of see it. And that's why I think there might be like that divide there.
Right. I mean, it's hard to predict exactly what the future will look like with NFTs in gaming. I mean, like, who knows? I mean, technology is so hard to predict. I mean, at one point, like, Steve Jobs said he didn't think that people were going to watch videos on iPods. Like, I mean, bro, like, even Steve Jobs is wrong about his own products. Like, things can happen. I just think, like, with NFTs, especially specifically when it comes to New York, people were like roasting it. Like, at least let's let it come out and see what happens. And like, I think people are also a little bit burned off of like the OpTic token and not really seeing the benefits of that play out yet at this point. We don't really know too many more details yet. So I think people were like really overreacting to like how negatively received it was when it hasn't even come out yet. I just thought that was so crazy to me. Like, again, I'm also really biased because I really like NFTs, and this is on the Flow blockchain, which is like NBA Top Shot, NFL All Day, UFC Strike. Like, they have a history with doing sports-based NFT projects, things like that. So obviously what makes Top Shot so cool is that it's connected with the whole NBA league, like the whole league and all the teams and all the players. And so you can collect all the moments. So it might be a little bit different with just NYSL, and we'll see. But if they connect like good enough benefits to it right off the rip, and they said they're committed to it in their second post they put out today, kind of talking more about it, my interest is definitely peaked. I'm excited to see what they're coming out with.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, no matter what anyone else says, as long as they follow through and they actually do what they're saying, because I think that's the biggest problem is people are just not doing what they're saying they're going to do. Like the OpTic coin, I have no idea what that's at. I mean, it's just all that stuff. So I think they can prove people wrong, but I think people have a right to kind of half assume because of how much NFTs have been used, especially with all the FaZe stuff and like that, and like all those scams
that's true.
too. So
fair enough. Yeah, I think that is probably the right way to think about it. Excuse me. So we'll see. I mean, I'm excited. What else we got, Rex?
Some Vanguard news / competitive news.
Yes.
This is, kind of want to know what you guys think.
Yeah, we got to talk about this.
Smoke grenades, G8.
They got the axe, man.
wow.
Snipers are not GA'd yet. Yes, snipers are not yet GA'd. A bunch of sniper attachments were apparently GA'd.
Yeah, so that's kind of the big combo. That was the question. I mean, Slasher, I know we saw, if you guys saw his tweet, he was something along the lines, like, he's like, I just saw that smokes are GA'd, but snipers aren't. Like, what are we doing? How do you feel about the sniper combo of GAing?
You know what I think? I think they're going to secretly GA the sniper.
Basically like a workaround to avoid like public
outcry.
Outlash, yeah.
Yeah, it's honestly, that's how it feels, is kind of heading in that direction, which I think is the wrong direction. Put smokes back in.
Man, yeah. I mean, ideally, smokes get fixed, right? I mean, like, at least in an ideal world, smokes are just better.
Yeah.
Like, more competitive.
Maybe this is the plan, is the GA until it gets fixed. Because, I mean, I get it. But, like, like you see those clips, or
did Draza single-handedly GA the smoke grenade?
The Draza clip, and also I think like Bance did it too during the kickoff. And it's like, I mean, those one-offs are they really the issue, or is there something more at play?
I guess the question is like, do players see the guy who carries his smoke den as like a super? Is it almost like its own like field upgrade in a sense? Like having the smoke grenade is such an advantage because it gives you a one gunfight per round and S&D advantage. Like. Yeah. Maybe, I guess, but I don't know. Obviously, I think S&D is way more fun and interesting with smokes in play when it comes to the plays you can make with bomb diffuses and clutches. Like, how much easier it is to clutch a 1v2 or a 1v3 with a smoke grenade in your hand? Like, it creates for just way more exciting plays, in my opinion. How many times in Cold War, you knew the second that whatever insert situation here was like, oh, this is over. Bombs down, 3v1. Like, it's good luck. It's impossible. But this game, with the time to kill, and especially when smokes were in play and snipers, it's like 3v1 bomb down. If they have a sniper and a smoke in hand, I mean, if he picked up a sniper off the ground with a smoke, like, it's possible. I think that's fun and exciting from a viewer perspective, even if it's not 100% competitive. But again, I'm biased. I want the fun, exciting plays if you sacrifice a little bit of competitive integrity.
Same.
It just feels like that whole smoke grenade like trick, throwing it at your feet, and it seems so incredibly situational. We only saw it happen twice during the kickoff. I don't know if players were purposely like not doing it because they're quote unquote like good
GAing
people
it in a sense.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, is it really like that bad?
It's definitely an advantage, but the problem is, it's like, do pros see the writing on the wall? Do pros see like it becoming broken every single round if it stays in long enough? Like, maybe they're just thinking forward, like, all right, if we leave this thing in, like by stage 2, every round of S&D, the guy is going to throw a smoke at the ground and finesse the bomb.
You're saying kind of like puppy guard the bomb, throw the like. Time is 20 seconds. I don't know how long the smoke grenade lasts exactly.
It's pretty short in this game, which I think that was a good counterbalance to like making it less OP versus like Modern Warfare. But
yeah, so if someone maybe wanted to like puppy guard the bomb in the last 15 seconds or 20 something, throw a smoke down, and they can just kind of like juke and jive inside of it, so nobody can really like break in and win that fight.
And you'll see them coming before they see you potentially, and then you have the advantage in the gunfight. Yeah, so that's what players are worried about. I'd prefer if they gave it a little bit more time. Like, I wonder if that's stage like 1, but
something that has been happening in scrims when like the smokes were in, or if this is just theoretical and no one's really actually done that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That's the question. Obviously, guys are playing, like some of the guys are playing S&D tournaments and doing that type of stuff, like, on UMG and GBs and whatnot. But I guess, it is interesting. We haven't really seen players talk about how much it's actually happened to them individually or whether or not it is theoretical. So I think that's a pretty good thought. I understand them trying to get set a meta at the start of the stage, but man, it seems inevitable that snipers are going to be gone eventually, right? It seems so hard to assume that pros are actually going to use it if smokes aren't in.
I think that's the future. If nothing else get fixed. So
I mean, maybe they can balance it with the attachments gone, but that feels like a lot of experimentation and a lot of going back and forth in a group chat about GAs to really come to like a definitive answer. So I don't know. It seems unlikely to me. Like that's so frustrating.
I don't know. I just hope they keep snipers. That's all I care about. Just keep the
same.
Sniper. You can have the sniper with no attachments. I don't care. Just keep it in. And
right. It'll be interesting to see, like, is there a
it.
point where it gets so bad where it's not worth using? Or like, is a bad sniper worth using? I don't know. It is an interesting question. I guess it's a fun theoretical question that we might get the answer to during this stage. So I guess I'll be excited to see that play out. So yeah.
Be a sad day if the snipers get GA'd.
100%.
Silent plant was fixed for the planter, which is
means it's not fixed.
Something. Yeah. So right now they put a patch in where the silent plant, the person who was planting couldn't hear themselves planting or diffusing.
Right.
But the people could still hear it, so it doesn't even matter. But there is some hope here.
What do you mean? We made it silent plant.
Attached, tweeted out like, must be difficult to work on, kind of like placating to the devs, like, hey, you guys are great, must be really hard, yada yada. Then Sledgehammer replied, there's a fix in the works for that, so it'll be coming.
Man, it's funny.
It'll be coming.
I mean, it's like they're purposely trolling us sometimes. It's like, how does this keep happening? It's really impressive.
It's insane.
It happens every year.
Yeah. And like,
it must be something weird. Like, honestly, it really might be something really awkward with the coding with something like that.
I was going to say, like,
that's nice of you.
Like all three of us obviously aren't, developers or anything like that, which.
Because it gets patched the other way every time.
I'm a dev.
It just seems strange that there's always these weird problems that should be not a problem. But
though,
man.
I did see some debate because, like, in Valorant, I think, and maybe CS,
yeah, Easy Mac,
you can always hear it. Like, there is no silent. It like everybody can hear it all the time. It's always loud, right? So maybe there's something to it. Like maybe we should give it a try.
He mentioned though in those esports, right?
Or
it's only
noise.
You can only hear the beginning, like when they pick up the bomb. You can't hear it like the whole
being
time,
diffused.
like right now how it is. Yeah. So, I think that is interesting. Like Easy Mac was talking about, like it's fun to make plays where you can fake pick up the bomb and draw out defenders and try to play that mind game with players. So I think I can get behind that. I actually really enjoyed that aspect of the bomb defuse, but the whole sound whoring through walls on Bocage and
you could be pretty
Berlin
like you can
insane.
Be pretty far away. It feels like.
Oh my word! Like Tuscan, you can be in the church and hear the bomb getting defused. Like, bro, get out of here! Like, it's so
kinda
annoying.
Wild.
Yeah, so like that type of stuff is like, I can't believe we're sitting here in February still not fixed.
But I don't know. I could see it. I don't mind the Valorant CS:GO argument. I don't mind that.
Yeah, I don't mind the pickup being not loud, but it's got to be fixed for the whole time. It can't be the whole time. No way.
Being loud, yeah.
Yeah.
And we talked about this last week. Fortified no longer counters the glide bomb.
Wow. Thanks.
There we go.
Sledgehammer. So nice of you.
I guess no one wants to use the strategy of glide bombing for the one shot, creating space with it. No one wants to think ahead of the game like that. All right.
No one's
or like Celium when you have a glide, but you can't even use it at the end of the game because it literally won't help you. That's tough. That is tough.
Some more news, the location of teams and where they're playing.
I guess the big takeaway is that 7 of the 12 teams are playing from their homes. So interesting. I mean, a little bit, I think, surprising compared to what a lot of people thought might be the case.
Which is weird because now teams are kind of forcing the idea of playing on their home turf, which I think I remember in Modern Warfare, like people were like, hated this idea about that. Right?
Yeah.
And there's a big drama about, because you couldn't be on LAN and all that. I don't know. Now people seem to be more okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it has to do with the improved dedicated servers now and like maybe a little bit more balanced connections in games and in practice. I mean, like I know we were talking about how like Draws had said like it's actually been pretty good for them this year, or at least not too bad online. And so maybe that has to do with it. But yeah, the fact that only 4 of the teams are going to be playing from Texas, I thought was a little bit surprising. I thought it might be 5 or 6. So
yeah, I guess the difference would be
through.
Like playing majors and champs and like these is kind of
for
weird.
Sure.
So I do see that aspect of it.
Yeah, it is,
but that won't be the case this year. Challengers, Elite Series qualifiers, and
Bro,
here are the teams who qualified for the Elite Series.
Oh no.
General, Havoc, Kismet, Brezzy. This is probably my favorite challengers team right now. Spart, Yeez, Proloot, and Mohawk. Shout out Proloot. I love you.
This is NA, by the way.
NA. And then Shawnee, Classic, Salt, Exceed. Some, veteran names we've seen around. Welly, Noisy, Mochilla, Radial, Phantom, Scrappy, Rex, Johnny. Then Gravity, Pollux, Venom, Jimbo. Fire, Zaptius, Hamza, Gintroid. Brack, Proto, Ghosty, Zinx.
Yeah, I mean, and this is huge for, again, setting the precedent for this season when it comes to potentially getting a spot in the CDL after stage 1. How many times in the last 2 years have we seen guys get picked up early in the year because of their success in the first 2 or 3 tournaments or the first Elite Series? So it's enormous to make it, and it's enormous to not make it as well. Like if you failed to qualify, it hurts real bad. And there were some huge names and teams that were so good in previous cups who didn't qualify. I mean, the Pander, Goddard X, Pentagram, Vickle squad didn't qualify. And they had been so good in the previous cups. Like that was really surprising. And then same thing with Hixie, Diamond Con, Royalty, and Exotic didn't qualify. Hollow, Yuli Mind, and Mock. Sensors team with Teskey, Tay, and Littlefoot. And then Silly, Rambo, Archives, and Volants didn't make it either. So some legit real names there that ends up not making it. So it's real tough. I think I was probably most surprised by that Pander, Goddard X, Pentagram, Vickle squad, but also not seeing Diamond Con or Hixie, Royalty, and Exotic in there too is pretty crazy.
Yeah. On the European side of things, we got the Spanish Squadron, Lucky, Journey, Metals, and Real made it to the Elite Series. Then Watson, Mythics, Keza, Denza, Rafi, Grad, Niall, Furious, Whalers, Henry, Jerd. Oh, Jerd, welcome back.
Yeah, man, Jerd's still rolling.
Haven't seen him in a hot minute. And then Abuza is also on that team. Then Sukri, Yako, Eric, Boom, Super, next team. Harry, Vortex, Beans, Weeman, next team. Wardy, Chaxter, Maple, BB Connor, next team. 11, Sean, Snake, and Corey. Never heard those last names before.
Yeah. It just started today. So if you guys are watching, started yesterday. And good news is that Shift and Co are casting it officially, which is great. And so it's on the Challengers YouTube channel. So these are the first round robin matches, and then we'll get into the tournament throughout the rest of this week and next week. So I think it's interesting, man. How are you guys feeling? Is there a team that you think you're interested or feel like has a decent shot, or any thoughts that you have overall?
Path to Pro is what they've been running by, at least in the past few cups, I think. I don't know. I like them. I like their gameplay.
Someone who's been under the radar, grinding forever is Mochilla, man. I can't believe he's
dude, it's insane, man.
It's ridiculous. Like he's been competing honestly for just forever.
He was a beast, back in Ghosts. I mean, he's been on the grind. He's got to be one of the more OG guys.
When you think of Parasite, I think Mochilla's right under there too. It's he's an OG for sure. So I mean, it's kind of cool that he's still making noise, and no pun intended that his teammate's name is Noisy. So
love that from you.
For sure.
Me.
Oh. Wow, you good?
I'm good.
I think the Gravity, Pollux, and Venom Jimbo team is probably the team that I'm most interested in. I was watching them today. I'm like, man, they look really good off the rip here. And we know how good all those guys are. So again, a lot of names that we've seen a lot in the pro scene, so many former pros. I mean, even the Brack Proto squad, making that with Zinx and Ghosty, some really interesting names that are there. So I'm actually really, really excited to watch the rest of the Challengers Elite stuff.
For sure. Sure.
It'll be great. And again, shout out to Breaking Point GG and Shift and Co. So
Facts.
Look at these names now, because you have to assume that these names, maybe 3 or 4 of them will be picked up this season. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, 1 or 2 of them could get picked up after the stage, potentially. And it really depends. That's why I think it was so surprising, I guess, to kind of wrap back to that some of those substitutes, like Hixie and Pentagram, didn't make it to the Elite Series. That's pretty huge, and really surprising. And especially with how good that Pentagram, Goddard X, Pander, Vickle team was. My word, they look so good. So I was really sad to see them not make it. But yeah, crazy. So with that said, that's all the news this week, right? So we can get right into the predictions and get rocking and rolling. And we have a lot to talk about. So it should be a blast. Let's talk about who is the best in the game. Let's hit it. Alrighty, baby. It's time. Predictions. Week 1 of stage 1. I mean, it's a long time coming, man. It's a long time coming. We're back into a stage. And we got our predictions today. So this is what we have a little new system going here. And one of the most upvoted comments of a recent pod was that we need to keep track of our predictions and like how accurate or our score line and compete against each other season long and maybe put up some sort of prize. So if you guys have any idea for prizes, drop your ideas down below in the comments on YouTube. And we thought we could do each week, we'd have like a highlight match of the week, and maybe we could have it voted on Twitter. So follow the podcast on Twitter, Best of 3 pod on Twitter. And then we'll post like the highlight or the feature match of the week. And this week we chose the Boston versus LAG match. It's kind of an interesting one that we might disagree on, and go from there. So that'll give us double points. And I think we're going to do like plus 1 point for getting the right winner and then half a point for the perfect score or maybe
map count.
Something like that. Or maybe 2 points for the winner and then 1 point for map score.
Yeah.
Just to kind of go that route.
Yeah. I think at like what we had last year was just 1 point for, winner and then half a point for a perfect map score.
Okay. Well, let's double it to make it easier without half points. Let's do 2 points for the correct and then one point for perfect map score. And then the highlight, what is it called? The feature match will be double points. So 4 points and yada yada.
Yep.
So with that said, the first match of the week is London v Florida. It's Sam's boys.
Mm-hmm.
London Royal Ravens.
Yet. I haven't.
So Sam, take us away. What are your thoughts on this matchup? Where are the opportunities here for London, Florida? What are your thoughts?
Right, right off the bat, obviously London did not have a good showing. We know that. So it's hard to try to extrapolate data from the kickoff, classic and see there's so many things that you could say or you could think. So I'm not going to take too much stock right now with my predictions from the kickoff classic. I'm just going to forewarn you now. London is a team that does need to grow still, obviously. The league is stacked, so every team's a good team except for Paris. Just kidding.
Tough.
Is that terrible?
Just a direct shot to the liver.
Savagery, Sam.
No.
But you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But so for the first game, I think London can take this. I do.
Really? Is that more to say about your belief in London or your lack of belief in Florida? I mean, Florida, they beat LAG 3-1, then they lost to Toronto, took a map off of them. They lost 3-1 to Toronto.
Yeah. I guess it's a combo of both. I think London has a higher ceiling. I think Florida.
But will they reach that ceiling in week 1?
That's the question. That's the question. I think with Florida, London has a chance to win. There's a matchup coming up that might be more difficult for London.
It might be.
I'm going to go London, take this 3-1 here.
Wow.
Yes.
Interesting. Rex, thoughts?
I just don't know what to make of these teams right now. London has these young guns, right, that are supposed to be really, really good.
Yep.
And then they have Zero as like their veteran leader. But he did not, he didn't do anything in challengers the whole time. He's playing Warzone, which, it's something I think to consider. I like how Dave looks, and I think he showed some excellence out of him. I know the abilities Awakening has, Skies has. I think they can win based off of their they've been in the league longer, in the scene longer. And I think the chemistry is going to be a little bit stronger with Florida. So I think I'm going to choose Florida 3-2. I think I'd pick Florida 3-2.
That was my thing. Is overall, I was pretty excited about Florida when it came to seeing Skies as a flex for the first time on like, especially that first map on Bocage when he just dominated with the flex in hand and took over. And then Dave Patty, S&D, I know I mentioned this a lot last week, but he played really, really well. Again, they only played Berlin's. So it's like, they played really well on Berlin. So can they diversify their S&D performance? Maybe not. They won both their Berlin S&Ds and that was the Sky's finger game. You know, when he had the bloody finger.
Mhm.
And the question would be control for me, because I think London
London can't do it. But.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm wondering. So it's like they got smoked by Seattle. The problem is Seattle, we don't really have a good like reference point for how good London is.
Yeah.
And that's why I have no problem with anyone picking London in this type of match.
They didn't particularly even get like smoked by Seattle, but they were just like, I think it was like 250 to 200 or something in the first hard
to 203.
The score lines weren't too crazy.
But in control is 3-0. So London got smoked in the control, but you know, if we're going to say that, you know, Seattle supposedly is the second best team right now, which of course we know that's way too
right. But they're
way too
top
early.
5 for sure.
They also kept it close. On the flip side, if we look at Florida versus LAG, you know, Florida won 3-1. You know, however, that first hard point was 250-246. Florida barely scraped that. Florida won the
that was insanely close. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Florida won the S&D 6-3. So, you know, that's probably whatever. Florida lost the control to LAG and then kind of smoked them a little bit in the hard point, 250-162.
Yeah, that was an impressive map.
Depending on your thoughts of LAG and then your thoughts on Seattle, London had a harder match and maybe performed slightly better.
And
who came prepared? I mean, obviously
Seattle came prepared. Like they were there to win it. They really were. Which I don't know if you could say the same about a lot of the other teams.
Yeah.
And so that's where I think I have a more skepticism on the Seattle side of things. I don't want to overhype that team.
That's
more
fair.
than what they should be getting right now.
I mean, that was definitely a narrative I'm gonna be touching on more in a little bit for sure. Like, yeah, I think there's something there. So I think overall, we saw a little bit more of Florida. I have a little bit more confidence in them bringing somewhat more consistent gameplay. We know who these players are. We know how good they can be. We've seen their slaying upside. We've seen a pretty balanced approach in all 3 game modes, success in all 3 of them at times. So I'm going to go Florida 3-1 in I think a really competitive series though.
I do too.
Okay. Fair enough.
So now this is our marquee matchup, Boston versus LAG. And Sam, take us away. What are your thoughts here?
Another great one. Boston, of course, the hype was real around them. They performed really well.
Or is it not?
Well, I mean, I think they performed well considering they're playing the Subliners, and the Subliners. I think we all agree that they're a pretty dang good team.
Yeah,
3-0 Rokkr.
Yeah. So
in their land debut,
stand clear.
Yeah, absolutely. So like with Boston, like they clearly had nothing to lose, but then I think they played well. Truly, Capsule put on a performance. Some maps where he wasn't quite there, but
right. I mean, I think inevitably the public perception of Capsule is going to be a slightly overhyped.
Yes,
just because of the the magnitude of that Berlin highlight.
Yes, it was crazy.
Is going to sway opinions.
His MP40 was killing in 1.5 bullets.
Yeah. So the magnitude of that, how much that was seen online versus how poorly he played in the first 2 maps, I think is the interesting narrative here. But at the same time, it's hard not to be impressed with Capsule at the end of that series with how close Boston played the Subliners. And again, at the end of the day, the most we've seen from most of these teams is like 1 series, 2 series where you're seeing some of the same maps being played. So it's so hard to know exactly how deep these guys' map pool is, what team strategies are heading into week 1 here. That's why I'm really, really interested. I think this matchup is probably the one I'm most excited for. And that's why I think it makes sense for it to be the marquee matchup. I guess I went on a tangent there, but yeah.
I have Boston 3-1 on this one. I think we saw them playing on LAN, right? And Boston showed up. And I don't know, and I think they planned on showing up, but I don't know how much weight they were putting into it. I think they were kind of we're going to go hard.
Based off methods like
but
interviews,
maybe not as hard as maybe Surge was going.
It seemed like he wasn't that concerned, with how they.
Yeah, I mean they were great. You cannot deny how great they were, and you can see that greatness. And now that they're going to be playing online, which is that's home base for Nero and Capsule for when they've been playing in challengers all these years. I feel like Boston has an advantage in that way. I think Boston's going to be here to prove even more that they deserve to be here. I think LAG has maybe some lacking qualities.
Okay.
I have good feelings about Boston and that team. I think they're going to show up, and I think Boston 3-1.
That's fair.
Yeah,
I think a lot of those narratives make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and like one thing too, what I'm very curious about too is if you remember the coaches poll, and that was obviously taken after scrims, and all the scrims were online, and that kind of thing. So I know we always have to talk about it, with the post-COVID era of online versus LAN and that kind of thing. So is it possible that Boston is more comfortable and maybe I think they had a great LAN debut, but
to your point though, I mean like what Rex said, the narrative makes sense for these guys to be better online, at least for right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I am a little bit nervous that we're underestimating the LAG team.
Well, yeah, no, and
maybe
I do think that's part of the problem is we're swinging really hard right now, but I do think Slasher and Gunless, although I think you can comment on how they handle the losses, but like Josh said, they are grinders and they want to figure it out. They're not just going to roll over.
Yeah, and you're giving them a lot of time to prepare. I mean, you got to see Boston play, 5 maps. So you got to see them play 2 S&Ds. So it'll be interesting to see what type of maps LAG is trying to play.
A top New York team. New York is just innately a passionate team, pretty much no matter what they do. Boston came to play. They played super well. I just can't pick Gorillas because I didn't see that chutzpah out of them like I saw we saw with the Breach.
I mean, I guess the other angle of that would be that you're giving LAG more film to work off of against a really good New York team that exposes weaknesses. I think
one extra map of film,
not obviously, but I mean 2 S&Ds though, that could be the difference. I mean, if you already have some film on a team's S&Ds going into a game 5, which could be the difference potentially. I'm just trying to argue the opposite side here, obviously. But like I said, I agree with a lot of your narratives. I'm going to go Boston 3-2 in a close series.
I'm all about that chutzpah.
As much as part of me, really does want to take LAG, I do think Boston's going to take this. I know we're all taking Boston here, but
yeah,
I think it'll be close to. I do agree with the 3-2.
I want to learn so much more about this LAG team. That's really what this comes down to. I'm really interested to see how this plays out for that squad. So speaking of interesting matchups and teams that we want to learn more about, NYSL and Seattle Surge face off here in the third match.
So I think there's some important NYSL news that needs to be spread, right?
Okay.
I think from what I've heard, I'm not sure if these are rumors or how I heard this, but I think Neptune has a thumb infection or something.
Wow.
They weren't able, I think they've only been able to practice for a week or something now at this point.
Yikes.
So they haven't gotten a lot of time in. I'm not sure what the situation is over there, but it does freak me out. As I know Seattle, how we know that team, and I think it's going to be consistent with that team. They're going to come in with a lot of strength behind it.
I mean, yeah, that would be the question is this is where the narratives of getting a lot of footage on a team comes into play here. Cause it's if you give Crim and Clay, that many series to watch through and dig through, and you give Revan that much time to kind of break down and dissect, I think you could start seeing New York be really competitive in these search and destroys. The question is Seattle just that good in respawn? Which they might be. They very well might be. But again, we did see Toronto take them to the woodshed on that Berlin hard point to end it all. I at least have some questions, but I think I want to buy I think I want to buy the Surge hype here. I think I want to buy it. I'm going to go Seattle 3-1. Thoughts?
Jeez. It is interesting too. Looking at the New York versus, Surge, they beat them in S&D, they beat them in Control, and they beat them in hard point. So wide gambit, they beat them in 2 respawns and S&D.
Dude, yeah.
Which is scary. If I would have saw, hey, New York won the S&D, and then we're close in a hard point, they could say, if they get to game 5, New York takes the S&Ds
right
and wins. But man, if Surge is winning S&Ds and respawn, that's scary. Gosh.
I mean, they did lose to the Surge 3-1. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying. I mean, like,
yeah.
Surge took the S&D. They 3-0'd him in the control on Gavutu. They beat him on the Tuscan hardpoint. It's interesting. I'm going to lean Surge still here.
Yeah, I think this is going to be. My prediction is going to be Seattle take it 3-0, but it's going to take. It's going to be an extremely
Seattle
close
3-0, bro.
Wow.
Extremely close 3-0 is what I'm going to say.
Oh my goodness.
It's going to be a 3-0 that doesn't feel like a 3-0.
Right, like the Rokkr New York series. Like that was all those matches were so close.
Yeah, that's my prediction.
Okay, fair
it's
enough.
Bound to happen one of these times, boys.
New York kind of got beat in the S&D kind of bad, I think, by the Surge. It was
it was a pretty
6-3.
technical S&D there. Yeah.
What's the control going to bring us? And that's where I think I have most concerns.
I mean, again, you're not going to play Gavutu against Surge again here on control. You're going to play Tuscan. So I don't know. There's at least going to be variables there.
And what kind of strength is NYSL going to be bringing behind their punch?
Yeah.
You know what? Stay true to the roots. Never
doubt Clay.
Never underestimate Subliners. Never doubt them. I'm going Subliners 3-2. It's going to be very reminiscent of the Boston matchup.
I mean, would I be surprised if that happened at all? No, not at all. I mean, again, week 1, anything's possible here. Like literally anyone could win. I mean, Paris. I mean, well, we'll see. Next up, we got Paris v Atlanta. You know, you never, nothing's impossible. You never want to say it's impossible, but let's just say it's not going to be easy. Sam, what are your thoughts on this match?
I mean, I'm just going to continue from that last year and this year and what we saw even at Kickoff Classic. Yes, Atlanta lost to Seattle, but they lost last year to Florida.
They lost to LAG during the season. Anything's possible.
I know. So I don't know if anyone's truly like thinking, hey, Atlanta's going to suck this year. This is going to be a 3-0. Paris didn't really show anything too crazy to us in the Kickoff Classic versus Thieves. Not saying Thieves is a bad team, but they did take a map off them. So I'm not going to say it was a complete and total disaster, but
right. Oh, for sure. Paris looked good. Paris looked very, very good in the control. So that would be the question is, control is still a game mode teams are learning, trying to figure out the metas. So it's like maybe Paris steals the control, which is what the only thing I'm like tempted by.
And think about it too last year. Like how many times, like what was the response from FaZe whenever they lost? It was scary. Oh, yeah.
Pure dominance. I mean, like what? Scary. They went on like a how many match win streak at the start of the season? It was like what, 13 or something? It was insane.
Yeah.
The control will be the question here when it comes to just map count or to map count in the series. So it depends if they play Gavutu. I mean, Paris at least had a chance to win it because they looked really good on Gavutu against the LA Thieves. But I'm not convinced.
Here's the argument here. Atlanta's pissed. GG 3-0. That's it. That's the whole argument.
I mean, FaZe got 3-0'd on Gavutu by Surge. So it depends who has the veto for this one to choose the control.
That was at the Kickoff Classic, right?
Yeah, no, I know.
Do you think Atlanta was really showing? Atlanta's never been a team to show all their stuff at a Kickoff Classic. I don't think they've ever done well at any Kickoff Classic. Atlanta's pissed. Sure. This is real time. This is where it all matters. Atlanta 3-0.
Yeah, that's fair enough. They
have to win.
I'm going to go 3-0 as well, but if Atlanta loses the control on Gavutu, then I wouldn't be shocked. So it could be a 3-1, but we'll see. All right, next up, London versus OpTic Texas. Interesting one here. Rex, what do you think?
I'm going with OpTic Texas with this one. I think another team that underperformed due to the nature of the Kickoff Classic. London, a team still trying to find their grounds, and also, OpTic Texas is pissed and they need to prove something. So Texas 3-0.
Damn. Thoughts?
Yeah. As much as I do want to hype my boys up at London and Afro, it is hard to go against the squad for Texas.
It's a prove something moment.
It is. It very much is.
Two teams who lost their first match, so we don't have a lot to go off of here.
Yeah, what's interesting too is just OpTic won the control. That was it.
Oh, and they looked terrible on Gavutu hardpoint. Like Scump got smoked, and like there was just a lot of weird things that are happening there, like things you just didn't expect. But again, maybe just LA Thieves might just be that much better than we think they were, and so it's like, you know, if LA Thieves is a locked and loaded top 4 team, then you know you'd fully expect OpTic to come out here and dominate. Like
I feel like the preparation
is like we thought for sure, like, you know, Texas would be like just absolutely dominant in S&D. But again, like you said, maybe Thieves is just that much better. Than we thought. So
yeah, that's what makes it interesting. I mean, is there a player you're looking for in this series? Like, what's the narrative for London to win here? What is OpTic trying to accomplish here? Like, you know, what are your thoughts with that?
Absolutely.
To answer my own question, S&D for OpTic was like what scared me with how bad they looked on that Desert Siege.
That's the thing is like if that's like what they're going to be kind of known for, and they didn't even win that.
I know. Hopefully it's just the map for them. Like Desert Siege is pretty whack of a map, so it's like, you know, maybe if you hadn't seen them on Tuscan or on a Berlin, then maybe things look a lot better, which I would expect them to. So, I mean, if you're Ravens, the narrative I'm looking for.
Yeah. If you're Ravens, you're obviously hoping to end it on that 4th map, just in case Texas does come out, you know, swinging hard on the S&Ds. But
I also don't think it's crazy after what we saw though. If London can outplay OpTic and S&Ds, like it's not that crazy. No, I don't think.
And again, you know, 6-4 to Surge, who I think it's just going to be a 3-1 Texas, honestly.
Yeah. That's fair enough.
Nothing much else to say, but you know, besides, you know, we don't know a whole lot about these teams right now. But I do think Texas does have the superior roster. Not to say that London can't grow. I just don't think they're there yet.
That's the thing. I don't think they're there yet either, which is why I'm going to go as well. I'm going to go OpTic 3-1. I don't think there's too much else to it besides the hot 3-1. It could be a 3-0. I wouldn't be shocked if it is, but
yeah.
I mean, this is the initial starting spot. This is the team when I feel like the right strategy is you want to start getting your upward incline on your on your wave now. And I think Texas is really going to, if Texas loses to London, I mean, I'm sure they're going to be freaking out in their heads.
I mean, I don't know about freaking out, but definitely not.
Because Texas does not want to be a top 7, top 6 team. Like, if they are,
definitely not.
They got to consider roster changes. They don't like to do that, and they're going to freak out.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't think you'd be considering roster changes right away. I mean, not after one loss.
No, you're not. But I feel like these initial games tell you a lot about how good of a team is going to be near the end of the season.
I mean, I wouldn't start freaking out unless OpTic was like, if they, let's say they lose, they start off the group 0-3, then you start freaking out.
Yeah.
You know, if you lose to Rokkr and you lose to London, then you have some problems.
Yeah.
Because now you're 0-2, you're coming in with a chance to start in like in a really tough spot in the first stage 1 major, which is your home major. So I don't know. I'm still pretty confident OpTic's going to come out and win this one. So next up, a really interesting matchup here. Seattle versus Toronto rematch of the grand final of the Kickoff Classic. Thoughts?
Seattle wants this one.
Oh, they want it. But sometimes you want things you just can't get.
But Toronto is a force.
Yeah.
I'm going Toronto. I'm going Toronto. I'm going Toronto 3-1. Toronto 3-1.
Yeah, exact same score. Yeah.
3-1. I mean, that would not be surprising. Like,
I mean, they got mollywopped.
They got
last
smoked.
hard point. Yeah.
Hot as you can get smoked in a Berlin hard point. My goodness. So I don't know. I'm a little bit split on which way this could go. I do think that early on in this year we're gonna see Seattle be pretty good, but like
I do too.
Yeah. No,
I'm just not
convinced.
convinced.
Closer.
After seeing how good Ultra was,
I think Seattle might have taken their trip to the moon a little early, so I think they're going to have a come down before they can go back up again.
That's possible.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think Toronto's going to win, but I think it's going to be close. I think my prediction is Toronto takes both S&Ds. And then
that
feels a hard point. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, man, a 3-2, that's very plausible. Like, what were the maps? So it was a Bocage 250-203 for Seattle to win on a Bocage. So it's maybe like, if you're Toronto, maybe you would try to avoid Bocage. Then you play Tuscan S&D 6-4 Toronto. Then through that really close control match 3-2 versus on Tuscan, and then the absolute beatdown on Berlin. Man, this could be easily something that goes 3-2. I like that. I'm going to go 3-2 Toronto as well.
Yeah, again, I think it's just Toronto is just this, severe team. They have more chemistry. They were with each other pretty much all last year. When Insight came in, Seattle got some learning to do, but not to say that Seattle again is not an incredible team. So
right, man. The biggest thing for me is that LA Thieves series versus Toronto at the Kickoff Classic. That was they come back on the hard point that could have ended the series. Like, we were that close to LA Thieves being in the grand finals. Like, so maybe maybe we're underestimating Thieves, maybe we're overestimating Toronto based off of how close that was, or maybe they're both just the two best teams in the league right now. Maybe we're overestimating Seattle. There's so many questions because of how little the sample size is right now, which gets me really interested with these first few matches. But yeah, I'm down to pick a close one, even with Toronto's success against the Mutineers, Thieves, and then Surge. So yeah, Toronto 3-2. So all right, next up, NYSL versus LAG. Rex, kick us off with this one.
I'm going with an NYSL 3-2 prediction, and that might seem a little weird, seeing as how...
A little bit weird.
My prediction with the Boston LAG matchup.
Yeah.
I feel like NYSL might have somewhat of an issue of playing up to their opponent.
And down to their opponent?
Or playing down to their opponent rather than, skyrocketing past...
Bring in their best.
Yeah, so that is where maybe my concern lies with the NYSL, but I do think NYSL still is going to bring it enough to beat LAG 3-2.
Interesting.
But I think it's going to be a battle of because you have mines on both sides, which has always been NYSL's really strong side, is having good mines paired with good guns, right? And Clayster just being a legend. And then now we have LAG, which is going to have those minds who understand the way that Krim and Clay are envisioning the game playing out, right?
For sure.
So that's where I think they're going to run into issues, because LAG is not going to be a team with horrible fundamentals. But yeah, that's what I'll say about that.
Man, it's hard not to get at least pretty excited about the New York team when you see Krim and Clay frying like they were, but I don't think it's reasonable to expect them to continue to fry like that. So it's you really have to get Hydra and Neptune in rhythm, and being the lead slayers on a team like this, if you really want to have long-term success. It's just hard to imagine you're going to rely on Krim to be dropping 30 bombs every game like he was, especially in some of those controls as well. That one against the Rokkr, Krim was freaking turning back the clock. He dominated.
Yeah. Why can't
it's not a norm? Who knows?
Maybe it is the new norm. It's possible. Flex Krim.
I think NYSL were trying at that kickoff event, but I don't think they envisioned themselves just taking it all. I don't think they were putting their full effort and energy into just dominating that whole thing. I think they're going to bring more energy than what we saw into this than they did into the kickoff classic.
Really? I mean, I just don't I know Clay was kind of writing off he didn't take it that seriously, but I don't know, when during those listen-ins he was screaming
well, that's just how it goes. They're innately
that means you're trying.
People. Yeah, of course. You're not. None of the teams were not trying.
Are you just coming strictly from a preparation, coming in prepared notes?
Well, I think there's preparation, but there's also just the gravity of what the situation is plays a factor. And that's it, like an NYSL knew with the Kickoff Classic. Of course, they're going to try and win. I think every team tried, but maybe they're not pulling out all the stops. They're not thinking of every possible interaction as you would in something that quote unquote
how
matters.
about the games where they got outslayed? Like where they outslayed or they got outslayed and won. Like, does that get you excited about the long-term aspects of New York, or a little bit worried about the long-term aspects?
We were seeing that with the Empire in Modern Warfare. It's the same.
Yeah, but they got to a point where they were outslaying every game, though. Like, you have to,
that can
at some
happen
point
with NYSL too. It will happen. We've seen Clay dominate. We've seen Crim dominate. We've seen Hydra dominate. We've seen Neptune dominate. Some days, all four are going to be dominating, and they are going to outslay. But they also have the backbone to have the fundamentals to win, just purely off knowing the game better and playing
efficiently
fundamentals.
Scoring points.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, at least in the long term, I have a little bit of slaying upside worry just with Clay and Crim, depending on how they perform. But again, if Crim keeps playing like that, then they're going to be really, really good season long. But the question is, can Crim play like that season long? Potentially.
Well, here's the thing. Okay. Not every player is going to play like a monster every game, unless you're different.
No, for sure. So, I know what you're saying.
People have their off days and on days. NYSL has that backline of even when there's the off days, they still can win.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So we'll see. I think there's a lot of potential there. And so I like the prospects. So Sam, who are you going with?
Yeah, I think straight up New York 3-1.
Yeah.
Again, I just at this point in time, I think New York is just a better team than LAG.
Man,
that's
it would be so on brand for LAG to come out and just start dominating now.
It really would. I kind of hope they do. I do hope LAG shows some chutzpah.
Oh, same. It was like sad that they didn't. I was hoping they'd like really, really come out and look good, but they didn't do that. So we'll see. Until I see it, I'm not willing to predict it for LAG right now, at least. I think it could be a little bit more of a process for them. So I'm with you, Sam. I'm going to go NYSL 3-1. So with that said, now we got the Paris versus Florida matchup here. Is this where Paris finds some success?
Can they do it?
Can they do it? Can they find the win? Thoughts?
Oh, I do wish Paris was good. I know I've spilled my love of John on this podcast.
Oh,
before.
you've spilled.
I spilled it.
Some of that love, baby.
But man, it's just, I don't know. The team isn't set up for success.
Right. Yeah, we've kind of talked about it at length when it comes to like, you're just relying on
they're just
the
not
guys
set up.
getting back to their slaying roots. And it's like, is it going to happen? Like, how long do you wait for it to happen?
Exactly.
We'll see. But again, there's a long way to go. And again, like I said, I was shocked by how good they looked against LA Thieves. I think it's possible that these control matches could go either way. And like, they could be a pretty solid control team. And Gavutu fits them a lot better than Tuscan does. So like, I think they're going to want to keep playing Gavutu. So the question is, are teams going to let them play Gavutu? I don't know. I'm not sure. So we'll see.
I mean, I feel like Florida's going to like not want to play Gavutu, especially because they lost. Ultra.
So if it's up to them, they're not going to want to.
Storyline: if Paris, if they can take the control,
a game 5 S&D. I mean, that would be the storylines right now.
That'd be it.
Winning a control.
Is it going to happen though?
I'm not willing to predict it. I'm going Florida 3-1.
I see a world Paris winning. I think this is going to be a closer. I think it's going to be a hard fought game, to be honest.
Do it. Call it.
I'm calling Florida 3-2.
3-2. Okay.
3-2.
3-1. So.
But I think we're going to be looking more favorably on Paris after this match.
Okay.
I think Paris is going to win some. I think
I want to see him win a hard point. I need to see him win a hard point. That's what I need to see.
They're always going to be a last place team. I don't.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not willing to predict the 3-2 till I see him win a hard point. Like, that's just why I'm a little bit concerned, but we'll see. All right, this is a fun one. LA Thieves, Atlanta FaZe. Thoughts?
I mean, hot take. Does LA Thieves take this one?
Wow, do they? I mean, again, picking against ATL is always a hot take.
I know. I mean, Thieves, it went 3-2.
No, they looked so good. I mean, they looked fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, they looked better than Seattle versus Ultra.
And Envoy wasn't even slaying well.
And again, that hardpoint was 250, 248.
Uh-huh. And again, Toronto and Ultra were down by 50? Like, it was an insane comeback. So yeah, they could do it. But man, it's hard not to have faith in FaZe. Even after the lackluster. Yeah,
FaZe again.
I do too.
FaZe is one of those teams that likes to stomp the popular teams. So I FaZe also needs to kind of assert their dominance again.
Of course.
They need to show that they're an alpha.
They're that dog at the dog park, you know?
So I think it's gonna be FaZe 3-1.
Yeah, I was leaning that route too. I'm gonna have to agree with you. FaZe 3-1 is kind of where I'm going as well. Sam, thoughts? You gonna hop on this bandwagon?
Hard ban. I think I want.
But this will be a very telling game.
A 3-2 is possible. I would have no problem with 3-2. And these could easily win. This is a fun one, man. I'm really looking forward to this. Sam, what's going through your head here? What are you worried about? What side of the argument here? Is it Thieves just really being impressive?
Out of everything I saw, Thieves was the team that shocked me the most. Like
Draza, man, like monster.
Even FaZe losing, that's just like, okay, that's just gonna happen. That could happen. But like
first event of the year, yeah.
Thieves looking that good versus a variety of teams,
for sure,
is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, they beat OpTic, and then they go in there and they had every right to beat Ultra, and then Ultra pulled the Ultra. But is that really enough? Like a close loss to Toronto enough to convince you they're going to beat FaZe? That I think only if you don't think FaZe is fully in true form yet, which maybe they're not.
Okay, they might not be.
I think FaZe 3-2. I think FaZe has the upper hand in S&D still.
I agree.
That's my only thing there. It'll be a close game, but FaZe is the better S&D.
To be fair though, Thieves did look good in S&D.
Yeah.
I mean, what happened in the Ultra series was that 3-2. They did get kind of like outplayed real bad on Berlin by Ultra. I mean, again, new S&D meta now with no smokes, so teams are gonna that's gonna be a factor here. There's a lot of variables. I would definitely agree with you that FaZe has the advantage in S&Ds for sure. And then it's like, well, don't they have the advantage in hardpoint? Don't they have the advantage in control? So it's like, I just feel like overall, it's too hard to pick against FaZe until we really see.
We'll see if FaZe loses this match against LA Thieves, that's going to change
a lot.
My perception, at least.
I agree. So that makes it really exciting. So, all right, last match here. Rokkr v OpTic. Final match of the weekend. Oh, boy. Can the Rokkr bounce back, man? Because, my goodness, that was disappointing.
They're not very online players, man. They're not online players.
Yeah, it sucks they only play one match here because it's going to like extend their kind of like the negativity surrounding their team for another week. Like, at least in my head, I'm favoring OpTic here. Bounce back
and what
online.
was with Major Maniac just going off?
Well, I know. That's the thing. Nowhere. Mike was going off and they didn't win a map.
He was, like plus 15?
That's what scares me.
Jeez.
Although Standy was not Standy wasn't Standy, like in that series. And they did play Desert Siege, and again, it's hard to get that excited about. So, and the control was so closely out, slayed them in the control. So, there's a narrative where you can see Rokkr really, really coming out surprising here.
But that's a pretty hard narrative.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know. I think Texas is going to take it 3-1.
I do too. I think Standy's a great player. I think he came in and carried their team in Cold War, but I
don't think we saw enough from OpTic to warrant a guaranteed 3-1.
I was thinking last year with Rokkr, they picked up Standy. They got this whole honeymoon thing. It kind of carried over into champs area. It seems like a one-hit wonder sort of situation with that team.
Yeah, I know. We know you're a Rokkr hater, Rex. You don't gotta double down, But
not a Rokkr hater, but it was just weird to me last year.
No, I mean, I get what you're saying, but I think we're going to see a lot better Rokkr than we saw at the kickoff, and you could argue that was a really, really close 3-0. I mean, like, it could have easily been a 3-1 or a 3-2.
Well, the weird thing
is, and then we saw an OpTic that wasn't that good. I mean, they lost 3-1 to LA Thieves. and they look terrible in the Search and Destroys, and we expect Minnesota to look a lot better in S&Ds moving forward. I think this goes down to the wire. I'm going to take OpTic in a close 3-2.
Here's the thing with Rokkr. Like, I see them as like they are a LAN team. I think we saw with like Priesta's performances in the past, and Maniac and even Attach. Like, on LAN, they were a better team, it seemed. Online, not so much. And so when they lost so bad on LAN, I don't think they're gonna be as bad as they lost on LAN at the Kickoff Classic, but I don't think online is their strong suit.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's going to be that big of a difference. I don't think that's the narrative for me. I think it's just more that in hard points, you trust OpTic more. And so you expect it to go to a game 5 or at least a 3-1 or a game 5, I think, overall. And then the question is S&Ds, and there's a lot of variability still. And I think OpTic's going to bounce back.
And Texas needs to prove something too. So
that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think it's by any means a guarantee that OpTic wins this. I think it's very much up in the air. But I am higher on Rokkr than obviously I'm higher on Rokkr than you are. So that'd be the difference there. But man, yeah, I think it's gonna be really interesting, man. Or Rex, what's your final map count?
It's not showing. Texas 3-1.
Oh, okay. There we go. So that wraps it up here when it comes to the predictions specifically. But yeah, which match are you guys all looking forward to the most?
For sure, the FaZe versus LA Thieves for me.
Really?
Yeah, I think for sure it's going to tell a lot about is Thieves all they're cracked up to be versus is FaZe really not there yet?
Right, and at that point we'll already have some context with how FaZe played against Paris.
Yep,
and we'll have a little bit more context there. So I think it will be interesting to see how that plays out, especially since it's near the end of the weekend. So we'll have a little bit more context about how all the other teams performed and then stacked it up against in that matchup. So I think I'm with you there. That's gonna be a really fun one.
I think the FaZe, LA Thieves, and also I really want to see all the Seattle games.
Agreed. The Seattle, New York is probably still the one I'm most excited for. Just overall, seeing both those teams come together and make that happen. Also, though, the London, Florida first match of the week, kind of hyped for that. I want to see how those teams duke it out, and if we see a different London or if we see like a more dominant Florida this time around. So
you know what's a fun matchup that's not happening this week? I want to see a Boston v Seattle. I think Boston versus Seattle could be a really fun matchup.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll definitely see it eventually. I'm not sure exactly when, but at some point we'll see it for sure. So with that said, we can kind of get into our intelligent or irrelevant. So without further ado, let's hit it.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
What do we got today, Sammy?
Okay, so of course, in the theme of Call of Duty this weekend,
in the theme,
as you know, what we're all about here at the Best of 3 Call of Duty Esports Podcast. Okay, so question posed this time was who will have the biggest turnaround from the Kickoff Classic?
Okay.
Do we think FaZe? Do we think OpTic Texas? Do we think Boston? Or do we think Rokkr?
FaZe.
So 4 teams that had some disappointing showings.
Interesting. I'll be interested to see what the public thinks biggest means because is FaZe winning and coming back and looking good a big turnaround? I mean, it's not that shocking of a turnaround, Man, I'd imagine people will vote OpTic just because it's OpTic. But
part of me thinks Breach too because of how high the opinions of Breach were, going into
that's true
the weekend.
I think the people are picking FaZe.
Think so? Just straight up.
I think it's gonna be a lot for FaZe.
Who do you think people are gonna pick, Sam?
I mean,
I'll guess Boston. I'll guess OpTic.
I mean, the OpTic name for sure, but I would like people to pick Breach. So,
all right, we'll see what they got.
I'll pick Rokkr because Rokkr. But there you go. FaZe 49%.
Okay.
OpTic Texas 33% and Boston 11.8. And then Rokkr 5.9. So
okay. Interesting. What do people have to say? I'm actually interested to see what they say.
So not too many here, but Hordes, our man Horde says it just wouldn't feel right for FaZe to not be a top 2 team with the talent on that roster. I mean,
fair enough.
Jonathan, it's me, says FaZe. We all know what happened last year after FaZe lost the kickoff. Yes, they are coming for blood and are going to show why they are the favorites to win champs.
100%.
Rudy, who is currently live on YouTube, says, I didn't vote FaZe because it's too easy. There you go.
That's why they chose FaZe.
At PD Gaming says FaZe and Thread. And then last but not least,
lots of comments about FaZe.
Of course, it's the obvious answer.
Oz Freak Show says, I know FaZe will bounce back hard. They always do. Might be a hot take, but I don't see OpTic being a quick turnaround. I predict they won't even be a top 3 team this season.
I could see it. 100%.
Bold.
Wowzers.
Super intelligent chat right now. Super intelligent.
I mean, yeah, those things were all fun comments, but obviously they didn't pick. Well, I think I would have. I mean, obviously I would pick FaZe, I guess. So it was intelligent, but yeah. I guess I would just, of course, argue the meaning of biggest, because I don't think FaZe winning would be the biggest turnaround, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Based on like the crazy things OpTic did that were not so great looking.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess it kind of depends if you think Minnesota has a chance to win, or like if Boston beats LAG, is that a bigger turnaround? Maybe not. So I guess I can see the argument, but yeah, it is interesting. So there it is, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, that's the podcast this week. Boys, what are you guys watching?
I am catching up on Boba Fett because I have missed the last 2.
Yes. Oh, well, this last one was insane. It was sick. Oh, okay, my word. Good. Yes. I mean, it may as well have been labeled, I can't say anything.
Yeah, don't even say anything.
I'm sorry.
So,
yeah, I finished Ozark this weekend when I was on vacation. This is a Wednesday episode of the podcast, by the way, if you guys are still, confused. Another Wednesday edition.
Tuesday.
Because I was out of town in California, actually, this weekend. But yeah, I finished up Ozark this weekend, which was lit and fire. Love Ozark.
Ozark's one of the greatest shows that's been made.
Oh, yeah, man.
I really didn't watch much this week, but I've been playing New World, so I guess watching New World YouTube videos.
Content. Yeah, nice. Things you love to see, boys. And I know we were talking about this beforehand, but like that New World grind, though, it's kind of been...
It's fun, man.
You're a little bit late to it.
I mean, I played in the beta. I didn't join in right when the hype was going.
Yeah.
I decided to join in now, me and a buddy. As I do in MMOs, I like to do the healer support role. So I'm running the life staff.
That's classic ShadyNero right there.
Now. So,
there you go.
See me at 60. Eden server.
That's great.
Eden and
Go
Valhalla.
get him. Come on, boys. Find him. Hunt him down.
Hunt him down.
Marauders
tweet
for
me,
life.
Tweet me when you kill him, because that's where I'm at here.
I got a crew, man. Got my tank and my DPS.
Yeah,
we running packs of 3s. Good luck. Good luck.
Good luck, boys. But there it is, boys. There's the podcast. Drop your comments down below. We always appreciate those. And hit that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Always appreciate the love. And appreciate you guys for hanging with us. But as always, I'm Josh. SalvationsElite to my right. Bash_Scorpio3. And to our farthest right per usual was Rex, ShadyNero. And guys, we will see you next time. Peace.